Is Miata always the answer? Well, it kind of depends on who you ask, and I just asked myself this question recently, and it wasn't for me, because you're kind of sick of seeing those damn things everywhere, and something needs to be a little bit different. So today, we got you, because we're talking about 9 killer project cars that are not Miatas. But still check all the right boxes. Like, subscribe, and first up, yes, is the Foxbody Mustang. For a long time, people forgot about the Foxbody platform because the first and latest generation cars were all anyone cared about. But the Foxbody is cheap, it's fast, and it has one of the biggest aftermarket scenes on the planet. So why is it a great project car? Well, you got endless parts availability. Like seriously, you could theoretically build your own Foxbody from the ground up using parts from the internet, sheet metal and all. Also, the 5-liter V8 is bulletproof and responds ridiculously well to mods. Plus, there's a version for everyone. Hatchback, notchback, convertible, just no hunchback. Sorry, Quasimodo. Now, as for the downsides, rust. These things love to rot in the floor pans and shock towers. And the stock brakes, let's just say that Ford wasn't thinking about stopping back in the 80s. But if you can find one that hasn't returned to the earth yet, the best mods would be a cold air intake, headers, coilovers, and a bigger brake so that you don't have to pray every time that you need to stop. And as always, if you want to find any of these ideal rides, check them out via Auto Tempest pin in the first comment. Up next is one of the greatest project car platforms in history. It's the BMW E36 3 Series, and your boy has owned 4 of them. This thing can handle basically anything that you throw at it, for whatever purposes you may desire. And there are still a lot of these out there, which make them pretty cheap. So, why should you buy one? Well, like I said, the chassis is legendary. With the right suspension setup, an E36 can dance through corners like cars 10 times its price. You also have endless mod potential. Turbo it, slam it, LS swap it. I don't care. The E36 can and will do it all. Also, this Generation 3 series is known to be more reliable than others. Repairs aren't gonna be as expensive as something that's like a E9X. Ask me how I know. But, of course, this is a BMW, so there's gonna be some common issues. And for one, can't get away from BMW's cooling systems, which are basically designed to self-destruct. Subframe cracks are also a known problem. I've had to fix them in mine. And the interiors tend to fall apart faster than a dress on prom. So, as for mods, start with a cooling system overhaul. They're pretty cheap and they're an easy DIY. Then toss on some coilovers, maybe some nicer seats, and an LSD swap to help you grip out of the corners or slide around them. Who cares? If you've ever wanted a car that revs to the moon and back, you gotta meet the 7th gen Toyota Celica GT-S. The 2ZZ GE, developed in tandem with Yamaha, revs to 7,800 RPM. Now, that might not sound like a lot when compared to more modern exotics, but for the early 2000s from Toyota? Come on, just give this a listen. The Celica's magic comes in many flavors, but there are a few points to this car that'll make you go searching for one immediately. First off, they're super cheap to buy and very cheap to maintain. Toyota, remember? Smart buy. Next, they're lightweight and extremely nimble. The Celica is a front-wheel drive car that actually handles well. Don't get it twisted. And plus, you don't see too many of these on the road, which means your project's going to be unique. Plus, that manual 6-speed is one of the best in the biz. It's actually better than a Ferrari 360 gated. I would know. I've driven both, and GTS is better. Now, whatever it's not great is the oil consumption. Yeah, it's a thing. And lift bolts, which let the car hit that glorious high RPM power band. It can fail. Now, as far as mods, the Celica, you want to put a cold air intake, exhaust, coilovers, and a tune to bump up that power to something a little bit meatier. And here's the thing, if you want an ideal car that's high revving, corner carving, and it just won't break the bank, the Celica is a hidden gem, no doubt about it. And if you want to learn how to make money buying any of the cars on this list for free, check out our brand new workshop. I've linked to it in the first pinned comment as well. Now, if there is one car that literally anyone can build into something very cool, even the Fast and Furious franchise, it's the Honda Civic. God knows there's no shortage of these things out there, and they truly do deliver a pure and connected driving experience. But there's more to a Civic than that. You can swap it in basically any Honda motor. K-Series, a B-Series, Turbo, D-Series. The options are endless. Parts are insanely cheap and they go together like Legos. Seriously, you can build a fast Civic for half the price of some other project cars. The aftermarket community is unmatched and they are super reliable if you ever need to daily drive your project car. Now, as far as common issues, the biggest one is going to be theft. These cars are very stealable. If you got a screwdriver, you got a key to a Civic. So don't get any ideas. Also, some models rust like crazy. As for the best first mods, I mean, go crazy, man. Anything that you can do to a Civic. And it's probably been done before. So just search the interwebs and find your wildest desires. Just go after them. All right, let's talk about a trio of turbocharged options. And yes, I said trio. You see, back in the day, Chrysler and Mitsubishi did a merger and created Diamond Star Motors. And in the 90s, DSM came out with a BMW E36S triplet situation. The Mitsubishi Eclipse, the Eagle Talon, and the Plymouth Laser. Guys have been boosting these things to the moon for decades as they are so cheap that the risk of blowing an engine isn't even that bad. And the engine that's in these baddies is a very good one. The Evo engine, yes, the 4G63T is a 2-liter 4-banger that takes extra power like a freaking champ. In fact, taking a newer 4G63 from an Evo and swapping it into one of these triplets would be a chef's kiss, in my opinion. Plus, they're still affordable, but clean ones are getting rare. So if this is your kind of car, well, make sure you gotta find one quickly. Now, the common issues are the crank walk on the second gen models. It is a very real thing, but it is overblown a little bit, and unless you're really pushing this engine hard, it won't be too much of an issue. Now, if you can find a bigger turbo, do fuel system upgrades, and install an ECU tune to wake this beast up, you're in for a very, very good time. The connotation of the word Porsche makes everyone think of the 911. I got one, but they're also kind of a lot of money. But what about the Porsche 944? Whole different story. This was a part of the front engine Porsche family in the 80s and 90s, and they are some of the sweetest handling cars on the planet. So why is it such a great project car? Well, first, 50-50 weight distribution. That's right, perfect balance, like a ballet dancer. Then there's the reason why it won best handling car in America back in the 80s. True story. And next, they're surprisingly reliable for a Porsche. If maintained properly, these cars can run for ages. Now, like the BMW, common issues are with the cooling system because it's kind of fragile, and so don't overfill the water tank or it will destroy your radiator. Timing belts are also something to watch out for because any big repair on the running gear will be expensive. As for mods, you don't need to do much in terms of suspension. I would throw on some better wheels and tires, a short shifter, and better steering wheel to make it feel a little bit more contemporary, plus an exhaust. Definitely an exhaust. And when you're done, well, that's got to be one of the prettiest and best driving cars of all time. Now, like I said, I was shopping for a Miata, but I ended up on this car instead. I put my money where my mouth is, and I bought a Toyota FRS, and let me tell you, this is hands down one of the best sports cars that you can buy, period, for under 10 grand. It's a proper rear-wheel drive coupe with LSD and razor sharp handling and a driving experience that feels way more expensive than it actually is. Now, Toyota and Subaru teamed up to make this thing, and they gave it a lightweight chassis, low center of gravity, and a naturally aspirated flat bore engine. Sure, it's not a rocket in a straight line. I got other cars for that. But on a twisty road, nothing at this price point touches it. It does have the common issue of that torque dip that, it's kind of tough to drive through, and early models had some valve spring issues, but if you get a well-maintained one, you are golden. Now, I've already tuned it to get rid of that torque dip, and I'm thinking about putting on wider tires to get a little bit more grip, as well as coilovers to make an already great handling car even better. But, God, even stock, it is fantastic. Okay, up next is not a Toyota, but a more premium Lexus, like the SC300 and 400. These cars are basically the gentleman's Supra, and the 300 has the engine to prove it. So why is it such a great project car? Well, yeah, the SC300 comes with the 2JZ GE. Yes, the 2JZ, the naturally aspirated version, but still, it is a 2J. And you know what that means? Turbo swaps are easy. Now, the SC400, it has a V8. So if you prefer torque and sound over boost, the 4-liter 1UZ is unbeatable. Also, these are comfortable cars. 90s Lexus products are among the plushiest of all time, and those leather seats won't disappoint you. What will disappoint you, though, is the automatic transmission. It is boring and it is very expensive to swap to a manual, so just get a manual. Also, parts aren't always as cheap as other JDM cars. So, to get rid of that poshness, I would probably throw coilovers on this thing first and then upgrade the exhaust. But if you're really crazy, like your boy, maybe a turbo. So on 300 would be awesome. Okay, this one has always had a little soft spot for me. It's the Mini Cooper S, and these get a lot of flack for being kind of economy boxes, but if you've ever driven a Cooper S on a back road, you will know that these things feel like they're on rails. They're stiff from the factory and way faster than you'd ever think. Whether you'd go with the supercharged R53 or the turbocharged R56, you're in for a ton of fun and smiles per gallon. Plus, there is a dedicated aftermarket scene for big power, stance, or track performance. And yes, people race these cars all the time, especially in the UK. They got really good taste. Well, except the common issues. The little four-bangers are not the most reliable, and they're known to have compression issues at a certain mileage and can really hurt your wallet. But just make sure all your engine vitals are good every so often and maintain it regularly. Plus, if you do an ECU tune, upgraded intercooler, lightweight wheels, and for the R53, a smaller supercharger pulley for instant extra boost, these are really fun for not a lot of money. So, take your pick of the litter. And that is it. 9 awesome project cars who argue that Miata is not always the answer. Which one would you pick? You know that I picked the FRS, so let us know in the comments below. Check out the Auto Tempest links and the Ideal Car Strategies brand new free workshop, and check out these Ideal vids over here. I'm Brad, this is Ideal. We'll see you next week, and promise me one thing, keep living the Ideal lifestyle.